control the vertigo.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic. We are host Mark. Today we are talking about an episode of The Outer Limits. It's from season 1, episode 25, and it's called The Mutant. A story by Jerome B. Thomas and teleplay by Alan Bowler and Robert Mintz, cinematographer by Kenneth Peach. It was actually production code 26, but it aired as episode 25, aired for the first time on March the 16th, 1964. Now, this in some ways is a poor episode, and in some ways is a memorable episode. Memorable, really, because of the central bad thing in it. It is the one that famously had the guy with the great big eyes, played by Warren Oates. Warren Oates, who actually probably only gives the only decent performance in the whole thing. The story was kind of contrived and didn't work that well. Let me set the scene for you. Basically, there's a voiceover at the beginning which suggests there's a new Earth that's been developed, but they've had troubling reports. Nothing direct, but troubling reports that suggest something is wrong there, and they send someone to investigate. Certainly investigate one of the deaths of the scientists. Now, it turns out this planet doesn't have any nighttime or something, and people finding they can't dream. And it's there's kind of a subtext about dreaming and lack of dreaming, how it affects you. But it isn't well developed. It's kind of mentioned in passing. But it turns out that there's a rain that you have to get out of because it could affect you adversely, and it has affected one person, and everyone's kind of skirting around it. It's affected one guy and made his pretty much, I think, all his hair fall out and his eyes grow big, and he's basically developed these psychic powers, mental powers. And there's a kind of half-hearted love interest baked into this too. But basically, this man can kill by touch, and he also can read minds. But they're frightened to tell anyone, because if they tell anyone, he will kill people, and he eventually turns into that. The makeup, I really like this. This is quite the look, and I always remember this episode, but only because of this particular look of the main character. It's as I said, played by Warren Oates. The character's name is Reese Fowler. Everything else about the episode feels rather half-boiled, half-formed. It's the threads about the love interest is a weird dynamic. There's a woman going on about, oh, you're a psychiatrist, so you're always analysing, and she's criticising this guy for doing his job. I don't quite understand what the point of that is. It feels all contrived. And I don't think I'm alone in thinking this. Apparently, Joseph Stefano felt it was a good idea, but every time he got a script back and the art kept asking for rewrites, it just seemed to get not so good, not as good. There was some sort of structural changes eventually to make it more of a Monster of the Week thing. But apparently it wasn't great all down the line. Apart from the initial idea, it wasn't great all down the line. So it was a troubled production, I guess, in some ways. But I do. Apparently, they do tend to give their bears. Joseph Stefano called the monsters bears, the bear of the week. They give their bear's name, and Warren Oates in this particular role was dubbed the fried egg monster because of the way his eyes look. And apparently, those eyes were quite difficult to keep on makeup. They look great. They do look great. But apparently, for example, half of the scene they might just pop off, and everyone would laugh. But after about the 10th time, probably didn't laugh that much. So it felt all a bit awkward. I kind of like the look of it. The final act, again, what happens, what finally stops this thing is a little contrived. The premise of a sort of super being among us, or developing because of alien things, or naturally, or whatever, is a well-known one. We've seen it in all sorts of other things. It was in the very first few episodes of Star Trek, where No Man Has Gone Before. I think it's the episode where I think it's Sally Kellerman and what's the actor's name? Gary. I can't remember. Develop psychokinetic powers and sort of take over the Enterprise and so on. So this sort of thing is well known. It's also kind of well established because there was another Twilight Zone episode, later season one, but even so, it featured prominently in the Twilight Zone the movie as well. It's called It's a Good Life, where a boy with godlike powers kind of has full control over everyone. And you know, it treads the same path as this. It's a reasonably well explored sort of theme in both sci-fi and horror, actually. So yeah, it's and this really wasn't the best take on what was going on here. Take on this material, I should say. What was going on here? It wasn't great. It was okay to watch. I kind of liked it because of the makeup, which unfortunately we didn't see much of because he kept goggles on most of the time. Probably A, to disguise what had happened to him to any sort of strangers, but B, probably could budget and, you know, just practically easier to do it that way. But he gives a couple of other actors are okay, I guess. But mostly this was rather poor showing. Probably one of the weaker episodes in terms of engaging you and keeping you interested among all the ones we've seen before. One thing I did like is we saw the reuse of a prop from the Zan. We saw basically one of the Zanti Misfits, and it's, but they kind of repurposed it to be like an alien, a species part of this planet. It could be even an ant or something they brought with them, and the rain has mutated that too. It's not clear particularly, but it does sort of crop up. That made me laugh, and I was happy to see it. So apart from that, really, and the eyeballs, the whole makeup, there really isn't much to recommend this episode. So I think I'll wind it up there. But before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there? I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to